found the best survival games on Steam, and I'm about to show you all of them. Steam is home to thousands of great survival games, like Subnautica, 7 Days to Die, and even Duckside? But there's a lot of interesting ones out there too. That's why I put together this list, to show you the best ones to play. We'll start the list off with personally one of my favorites, Abiotic Factor, a survival crafting game set inside a massive underground research facility where a containment breach has unleashed all kinds of dangerous anomalies and creatures. You play as a scientist who has to survive the chaos by scavenging supplies, crafting weapons and tools out of whatever you can find, and even building a base right inside the facility. You'll need to manage your food, rest, and energy while exploring new sectors, fighting off hostile forces, and dealing with strange portals that open into other dimensions. The whole thing can be played solo or with up to 6 friends, and it mixes that classic sci-fi story vibe with the open-ended freedom of a survival game. Up next is the Planet Crafter, a survival crafting game where you're dropped on a barren planet with one mission: terraform it into a place you can live. At the start, you're just trying to survive with limited oxygen and food, scavenging whatever resources you can. But as you progress, you'll unlock machines that raise oxygen, temperature, and pressure, slowly transforming the environment. Over time, the empty landscape turns into lakes, forests, and a thriving ecosystem. You can play solo or with friends, and the most rewarding part about this game is watching the entire planet evolve into something alive because of the work you've done.
Up next is Vane, a hardcore realistic zombie survival sandbox. You start with almost nothing and have to scavenge homes, stores, and cars for food, water, and parts, then slowly turn a safe spot into a defendable base. What makes it feel so real is how many systems are working at once. The world has seasons and long-running events that change conditions. Zombies and enemies react to what they see, hear, and even smell, and nearly everything you find can be used or interacted with. Over time, the easy canned foods will run out, so you have to shift to long-term survival, hunting, fishing, farming, and maintaining power and water for your place. You can play solo or on multiplayer servers with friends. Next up is Scrap Mechanic, a creative sandbox survival game where you crash land on a planet overrun by malfunctioning farming robots. You'll scavenge materials, grow crops for food, and fight off waves of hostile farm bots as you try to survive. What really makes this game stand out is its incredible building system. With a huge variety of parts and tools, you can design anything from simple shelters and vehicles to complex machines and contraptions that actually move and work. The creative freedom is massive, and it's a big reason why so many people love the game. You can tackle it solo or with friends, and if you want to focus just on building, there's also creative mode with unlimited parts and no threats, letting you bring your ideas to life. Up next is Raft, a survival game set in the open ocean where you start on a tiny floating raft with nothing but a plastic hook. You'll use that hook to snag debris, driftwood, and plastic floating by, then build and expand your raft bit by bit. As you grow your floating base, you'll also craft tools, farm food, purify water, and fend off a relentless shark that wants to chew your raft apart. Over time, you'll explore nearby islands to find rare resources and uncover the game's story, but your raft remains your home and anchor. You can play it solo or with friends, and one of the best parts is watching that bare, fragile raft evolve into a full-blown floating fortress on the sea. Next is Enshrouded, a survival action RPG set in a world consumed by a deadly mist called the Shroud. You'll explore for resources, craft weapons and gear, and build bases to survive while pushing back against the fog. Combat mixes melee and magic with dodging, blocking, and spellcasting, giving fights a fast, dynamic feel. One of the coolest parts is the building system. You can carve terrain and design detailed structures thanks to its voxel world, giving you a ton of creative freedom. You can play solo or with friends, and the deeper you go into the Shroud, the bigger the risks and rewards become. Up next is The Long Dark, a survival game set in a frozen wilderness after a mysterious geomagnetic disaster. You play as a stranded pilot trying to survive against cold, hunger, and dangerous wildlife. There's no zombies or monsters, just you, the snow, and nature pushing back. You'll scavenge supplies, build fires, repair gear, and make tough decisions about when to rest or push forward. The world is pretty harsh, every step can be dangerous, and your survival depends on staying warm, fed, and alert. It's a solo experience that's all about endurance and learning the land. Next is Grounded, a survival game where you're shrunk down to the size of an ant and stranded in a massive backyard full of giant bugs and dangers. You'll explore the grass, dig tunnels, gather resources like twigs, glue, and pebbles, and craft tools, armor, and base structures to protect yourself.
Combat is fast. You'll face spiders, ants, and other creepy crawlies that you see as prey. What makes it awesome is how everyday objects become epic building materials. You can design your base using bits of nature and make inventive creations. It can be played solo or with friends, and every day is about exploring further, surviving longer, and finding clever ways to thrive in a world where everything is bigger than you. Next, we have Project Zomboid, an open-world survival game that drops you into a huge infected city with one simple goal: survive as long as you can. It's brutally realistic. You'll need to find food, water, and shelter while scavenging houses, managing injuries, and keeping quiet so you don't draw in hordes of zombies. The world is unforgiving. If you die, that character is gone for good, and every decision matters. What makes it stand out is the insane amount of depth and freedom. You can fortify safe houses, farm, cook, craft weapons, and even deal with things like depression or boredom as time goes on. You can play solo or with friends, and no two runs ever play out the same, making it one of the most immersive survival games out there.
Up next is Green Hell. Green Hell drops you into the Amazon rainforest with no gear and only your instincts. You'll scavenge for food, build makeshift shelters, craft tools and weapons to survive, but you're not just fighting the jungle, you're fighting your own body and mind. Wounds get infected, parasites creep in, and hallucinations can make you question what's real. The building is raw and practical. You'll use wood, mud, vines, and whatever you can find to put together shelters or tree houses. You can play alone or team up with friends in co-op, and part of the thrill is surviving day after day in a world designed to push you to your limits. Next up is Palworld. Palworld is an open-world survival crafting game set in a colorful yet dangerous world filled with mysterious creatures called pals. You play as an adventurer trying to survive, build, and thrive in a land ruled by wild pals, poachers, and harsh environments. You can catch and train pals to fight alongside you, help gather resources, farm crops, or even automate production at your base. As you explore, you'll craft weapons, upgrade your gear, and uncover the darker side of this world. The goal is to build your own thriving base, grow stronger with your pals, and conquer the challenges across each region. Next up is No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is a massive open-world survival game set in a procedurally generated universe with billions of unique planets. You start as a stranded traveler with a damaged ship and a simple goal: gather resources, craft better gear, and get back into space. From there, you explore alien worlds, scan wildlife, survive harsh weather, and build bases wherever you'd like. You can play solo or with friends, and the best part is the sense of discovery. Every planet you land on feels like a fresh adventure with new sights, resources, and surprises waiting. Next is Don't Starve. Don't Starve is a dark, whimsical survival game where you find yourself stranded in a strange wilderness full of odd creatures, bizarre biomes, and constant danger. You'll gather resources like sticks, rocks, and food, build tools and structures, and try to stay alive through cold nights, hunger, and hostile monsters that come out in the dark. One of the standout features is the unique art style and the way that turns simple survival decisions into tense moments. As you progress, you'll unlock new characters, learn new strategies, and push further into unknown biomes. The game is single player, but if you want to play it with friends, they have another game called Don't Starve Together, which is basically the same game, just a multiplayer version. Next up, we have 7 Days to Die, a survival crafting game set in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by zombies. You'll scavenge abandoned towns, collect resources, and build bases to survive as long as possible. The twist is in the name of the game. Every 7 days, a massive blood moon horde attacks, forcing you to defend everything you've built. Between those attacks, you'll explore, craft weapons, fortify your base, and hunt for supplies to stay alive. The game blends survival, building, and tower defense perfectly. You can design traps, upgrade walls, and turn your base into a fortress that hopefully holds up when the next horde comes. The next game is Subnautica, an underwater survival adventure that starts when your spaceship crashes on an alien ocean planet. You'll dive beneath the surface to gather materials, craft equipment, and build underwater bases while exploring the planet's vibrant but dangerous ecosystem. The deeper you go, the stranger and scarier things get. You'll have to manage oxygen, hunger, and pressure while uncovering the mystery behind your crash and the planet's hidden secrets. The world is beautiful and eerie at the same time, with glowing reefs, dark trenches, and massive creatures lurking in the deep. Up next is Terraria, a 2D survival crafting adventure that drops you into a randomly generated world full of monsters, magic, and mystery. You start with almost nothing and work your way up by mining resources, crafting gear, and building shelters to survive the night. As you explore deeper underground and across new biomes, you'll uncover hidden treasures, strange creatures, and powerful bosses that mark your progression. The ultimate goal is to defeat the world's toughest enemies and restore balance to a world corrupted by evil forces. Along the way, you can build entire towns, recruit NPCs, and shape the world however you want. The next game is Valheim, a survival crafting game set in a massive open world inspired by Norse mythology. You play as a fallen warrior sent to a mysterious realm tasked with proving your worth and bringing order to the land. Starting with nothing but your hands, you'll gather resources, craft weapons and armor, and build shelter to survive the harsh wilderness. As you explore new biomes, you'll take on powerful bosses that each guard a piece of Valheim's story. The building system is a huge part of the game, letting you construct Viking longhouses, forts, docks, and defenses with realistic physics that make every beam and building piece matter. You can play solo or with friends, sail across stormy seas, and watch your small camp grow into a thriving Viking settlement. Up next is Sons of the Forest, a first-person survival game where you're part of a search team sent to find a missing billionaire and his family. But on the way in, your helicopter crashes and you get stranded on a remote island. You then start with almost nothing and have to gather sticks, stones, and food, craft simple tools and weapons, and build a shelter. However, the island is dangerous, hostile cannibals and strange mutants roam around, and the seasons change how you survive. You'll explore caves and hidden bunkers to find better gear and clues about what's really going on. A big hook is the flexible building system. Placing logs piece by piece lets you design bases exactly how you want, and you can even get help from friendly companions to fetch materials or watch your back. The game can be played solo or with friends. Up next is Muck, a fast-paced survival game set on a randomly generated island. You start with nothing, so your first job is simple. Punch trees and rocks, craft basic tools at a workbench, cook food, and throw together a quick shelter. Daytime is for gathering and exploring. At night, monsters show up and you'll need crafted weapons and quick reflexes to stay alive. The big hook is the roguelike power-ups. Open chests to get random buffs that stack and turn you into a late-game powerhouse, making each run feel different and a little chaotic. You can play solo or with friends, and the goal is straightforward: survive as many days as you can. Next is ASTRONEER, a colorful space survival game about exploring strange planets and building your own bases. You start with a simple backpack and a tool that lets you literally shape the ground. Dig tunnels, carve caves, or scoop up soil to build ramps and bridges. You'll gather resources, research new tech, and snap together modules to craft printers, power, and storage while keeping an eye on your oxygen by dropping tethers as you explore. As you progress, you'll build rovers, launch rockets to new planets, and set up automated lines that mine and craft for you. The hook is the freedom. You're reshaping entire worlds as you go. And there's a light sense of mystery with alien structures to discover. Play it solo or with friends and watch a tiny camp grow into a network of bases across the solar system. The next game is Medieval Dynasty, a survival and town building game set in the Middle Ages. You arrive in a wild valley with nothing and start small. Gather wood and stone, hunt for food, farm a little plot, and craft simple tools while managing hunger, thirst, and the changing seasons. As you get established, you'll build houses and workshops, invite villagers to live with you, assign them jobs, and turn a tiny camp into a working village. You'll take on quests, trade, and pay taxes to the local lord to keep things running. The big hook is the generational story. You can marry and grow a lasting family line. The goal is pretty simple: survive, build, and turn your patch of land into a thriving medieval town with your name on it. The next game is SCUM, an open-world survival game set on a massive island. You start with almost nothing, and you have to scavenge towns for food and water, craft tools and weapons, and build a base to protect your gear. The standout with this one is how detailed the survival is. Your character tracks calories, vitamins, hydration, temperature, and injuries, so eating right, staying warm, and treating wounds really matter. You play on multiplayer servers with different rules, so you'll meet other players who might team up, trade, or try to take your stuff. Up next is Pacific Drive, a first-person survival game where your beat-up station wagon is your lifeline. You're exploring a sealed exclusion zone in the Pacific Northwest. Roads are broken, the weather is wild, and strange anomalies can wreck your car in seconds. Each run starts at your garage. You drive out to scavenge scrap, fuel, and parts, keep the engine running, patch damage on the fly, and try to make it back before things get too unstable. The loop is simple: head out, grab what you can, race home, upgrade, and push deeper. With the long-term long-term goal of finding a way to escape the zone. Up next is Stranded Deep, a survival game that starts with your plane crashing in the Pacific. You wash up on a tiny island with a little raft and almost no gear, so you'll gather sticks, rocks, and palm leaves to craft tools, build a shelter, and make a water still to stay alive. You have to manage hunger, thirst, health, and even sun exposure while fishing, cooking, and avoiding dangerous sharks, storms, and poisonous sea creatures. As you get stronger, you can build a custom raft to hop between islands, find better loot, and set up a proper base. There is a light end goal: hunt down key bosses to unlock parts to escape, or you can just keep expanding and see how long you can survive. You can play it solo or co-op with a friend. Next is V Rising, a vampire survival action game where you wake as a weakened vampire and have to gather resources, craft gear, and build a gothic castle to survive. Daylight burns you, so you move in shadows or travel at night, and you feed on humans and creatures to keep your blood meter up. Progress comes from hunting powerful V-blood bosses. Defeating them unlocks new powers, forms, and crafting stations that push you forward. Combat is fast and skill-based with dodges, weapon abilities, and spells. You can play solo or with friends on PvE or PvP servers, form a clan, and defend your castle together. Next is Dune Awakening, an open-world survival game set on a harsh desert planet. You start with basic gear and have to stay cool, find water, and avoid giant sandworms while scavenging parts to craft tools, weapons, and a simple base. As you level up, you'll build and expand the base, harvest a valuable resource called spice, and use ground vehicles or simple flying machines to push deeper into the dunes. It's a shared world with lots of other players. You can team up, trade, or compete over resources and territory. The goal is to survive the sands, grow your operation, and carve out your place in this dangerous desert. Next up is Necesse, a top-down survival RPG where you explore a huge procedurally generated world, gather resources, craft better gear, and dive into dungeons to fight monsters and bosses. The big hook is that you don't just build a base, you build a settlement. Recruit NPC settlers, assign them jobs, and set up farms, shops, and defenses so your village keeps running while you're out adventuring. You can play it solo or with friends, and as you progress, you'll unlock stronger equipment and push into tougher biomes and boss fights, growing from a lone wanderer into the leader of a thriving colony. The next game is Rust, an online survival game where you wake up on a beach with just a rock and a torch. You'll gather wood and stone, craft simple tools and weapons, and throw together a small base to protect your stuff. Food, warmth, and healing matters, but the biggest threat is other players. Every server is shared, so anyone you meet can team up, trade, or try to take everything you have. As you progress, you'll use a crafting bench to unlock better gear, upgrade your base from wood to stronger materials, and defend it with doors, locks, and traps. Raiding is a big part of the game. You break into enemy bases for loot, and they'll try to do the same to you. Most servers wipe on a schedule, resetting the world and giving everyone a fresh start. Up next is Satisfactory, a first-person factory building game on an alien planet where you turn raw resources into massive automated production lines. You'll start with basic tools, place miners, smelters, and constructors, and link everything with conveyor belts while managing power and expanding tier by tier. Exploration matters. You'll scan for new resource nodes, unlock tech, and deal with hazards like hostile creatures, poisonous zones, and fall damage as your factory grows into a multi-floor mega base with trucks, trains, and drones. It is more factory/automation than pure survival, but the planet's creatures, hazards, and terrain give it a bit of a survival aspect. If you want to check out any of the games from today's video, I have a link to each one's Steam page in the description. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.